9 a.m. Let's start exactly on time. So good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending where you are. It's a pleasure again to have you guys participating. I'd like to thank Eduardo for organizing this. And Eduardo, if you wanna say a few words before we start. As I was telling before, the idea is to have like open conversations. If each one of us could tell a little bit about our experiences. We have a focus on how to grow international on this panel, and discuss some case studies and the experiences, and then I will tell you guys a little bit more about our plans for what envision that SoccerCon can be and become. Eduardo, you wanna start?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, I say welcome everyone. So happy to have you in the panel, and yes, a great branding, clubs, leagues, and media, and I think it's going to be a nice conversation. Everyone from different places in the world, and I think it's going to be so nice to know exactly how the global expansion is working from leagues, from clubs, also media. And for us, it's really important because we are a soccer event. We are going to start in next year, and we want to be a reference for business expansion, for networking between America and Europe. And so happy to discuss the topic, the global expansion. So for sure, everyone have a lot of experience and things to say. And yes, introduce everyone. Kevin from sport business. For sure, Roberto is the president of the SoccerCon and also the World Sports Solution. Maria Teresa Chirivì from Atlético Madrid Academy. Diego Pinzón from Bundesliga. Rebecca Smith from Copa 90, and Fred Pollastri from Orlando City. Okay, and just have a question to start, like another digital series. I would like to just to break the ice to know I would like to know what is your favorite team and your favorite singer, just to break the ice. Let's start with Kevin, please.
Okay, this secret is already out of the bag. I, for the last 50 years, have been torturing my soul by watching Crystal Palace, who currently are in the Premier League in England, but who I've seen play down in the third tier. It's something that started when I went with my dad when I was a kid, and now I go with my son, who's 29. So it's a real family thing. And in fact, one of the things that I'm interested in talking to everybody about today is the nature of international fandom. I can understand why I'm a Palace fan, because it's a family thing, because it's a local thing, and it's deep, deep rooted. And I just wondered, and maybe we can get into talking about this a little later, whether there's a fundamental difference in fandom between people who come from the roots of a club and a deep relationship, and those that have a digital or televisual relationship with the club. Something to talk about. Favorite singer, by the way. Any of you guys know somebody called Paul Weller? No? I'm too old. You're old. That's the thing. Okay.
No way.
Moving swiftly on, as they say.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. What about you, Fred? I'm so excited to know what is your favorite team.
I have two, actually. I have one in Brazil. I'm from Brazil, as you can see from my accent.
This is not possible. To have two favorite teams is not possible. But well.
Yeah, no, we play together, and then for my father, my father was really sad about it. I cheer for Orlando City. So my team there is Flamengo. We played there in Maracanã against Flamengo, and I was cheering for Orlando City. So my first team right now is Orlando City, of course. But
okay.
And the Brazilian national team, right? Men's and women's.
Anything else?
No. Yeah, soccer in general, right?
Okay.
Singer is tough one. I wouldn't pick a singer, but my idol in music, which is Bob Marley, and maybe singer is a Brazilian one that probably you don't know. It's Tim Maia. So
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Rebecca, please, your turn.
Okay, well, nice to be here. Thank you for having me. And excited about the day, actually. Team, I don't really have a team, and I know that sounds really weird. It worked for me when I was working at FIFA because you're supposed to be neutral, and now it's a really big problem, as Kevin can attest to, when I live in London, because you have to have a team in the UK. But I think growing up, the only real sort of international team that we got was Man United when I grew up in LA. So I think that they're somehow one of my favorite teams, although not really. And my favorite singer is probably Sarah Bareilles. She's a singer-songwriter. Don't know if you guys have heard of her either. But Bob Marley's a good one, Fred.
Not bad. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. And yes, Maria Teresa, waiting for your answer. Exciting also to know what is your favorite team.
Yeah, my answer is clear. No secret. But Atlético is more than a team for me. My favorite team is, like I always say, is my life, because when you work in a football club, I mean, your life is linked to it. So it's like a mission of life. Even though I'm Italian, I'm not Spanish, but I've been living here for several years, almost 17 or 18. So Atlético, of course. And then, so I can also suggest Rebecca a team if she wants, because I know she's neutral, but I have suggestion if she wants to follow Atlético. Because I think, okay, great. It's worthy, I think. I think it's Atlético is also a great club to follow. We always think that our value, our brand are really important for a lot of people to identify yourself with a team that show team efforts and the ability to believe in dreams and to be able to do impossible things, or things that seem impossible to make them possible. And then regarding singers, I have too many, so I cannot choose one from Italy. And then international side, I could say from Bocelli to Pavarotti, but also Coldplay, like a group. So also Lady Gaga, I love her. And Justin Bieber, because right now I'm a really big fan of him, and I love it as a singer also.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot for your answer. And also still excited about Diego. Diego, any club on your favorite? Only one, please.
Yes, well, very excited to be here as well, and thank you for the invitation for sure. I was born in Colombia, so my favorite team for sure, it's América de Cali, which is one of the top teams in Colombia. I've also suffered, just like Kevin, seeing them in the second division a few years ago, but finally we were able to come back, and we are the current champions of the Colombian Championship, which is a great thing. After 11 years, we had to wait a lot of time, and we're back in the Copa Libertadores. We're not doing that well there, but still it's very good to see your team succeed again after for so long. And then as far as singers or musicians, I've been my whole life a huge Metallica fan. So I think that's one of my favorite bands. And then as far as singers itself, some of you guys might know him. It's Enrique Bunbury, a Spanish singer who used to be the frontman of a rock band called Héroes del Silencio. So for me, those are the top musicians, I guess, that I follow as well.
Really good. Thank you, Diego, and welcome for sure. And Roberto, all in your hands. You know, you have a English guy, Brazilian, Italian, Colombian, Kiwi, and that's it. And well, Spanish for me. All in your hands.
Anyway, so talking just for me it's hard to say about the favorite team, because we have a company which works in infrastructure and provides solutions for many teams. So when I was really young, I used, to be a big fan for São Paulo Football Club, but working, 26 years now, and we make friends, and then you see, then I start to really be a fan for the guys which was really paying us then. But now, so many friends and so many situations, and we pretty much I became like I like, football, soccer in general, and I really just wish the best for all the guys that we know. So And as far as the groups, also, I like pretty much everything. Maybe Metallica, as you said, Guns N' Roses, and Queen, and I'm pretty open. I love electronic music, so it's pretty open. But anyway, so was really good for the introduction and see all this diversity that we have, which is also focusing on the subject that we're going to talk today, which is how to get something local that we love, that is going well in our backyard, in our place, and make this boom go international. So Fred, I'd like to, and I know the story of Orlando City from the beginning. So I think it's a really good case if you want to start and share your idea how the whole thing started. I think it's a really good case for everybody to know.
Thank you. We are not doing the ladies first thing here, right? We are kind of united.
That's true. Sorry about that.
Take it. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. You, Roberto, SoccerConXP Las Vegas. You, Eduardo, that I met recently. Roberto is an old friend from Brazil. We do some business together and awesome stuff that we've been doing, and they've been doing there in Brazil for the World Cup, and it's a big player in the market. So it's an honor to be side by side with you guys. That represent big players in sports industry. Thank you for having me as well, and for listening to me. Sometimes I talk too much. I'm sorry about that. So I will. I think we don't have a time here, Roberto. What is the time here? Because I need to.
Between 5-7 minutes, I think, and then we.
Okay, I'll try to. So Orlando City is a brand new team, right? In comparison with Flamengo, the case that I said, Flamengo is already 125 years old. Some other Europeans, I think Atlético is almost 150 years old or something like that. Orlando City in a major league started in 2015. I started here, so I start coming here. Can you hear me properly? It's okay. Thank you. So it was a third division team, played the USL, which is a different league here, a minor league here in the United States. As you know, they are not connected. There is no relegation, only different leagues. We started the season 2015. And before we started the season, we announced our franchise player, which was Kaká, and it was the only one Ballon d'Or that played here in US so far. So actually our global expansion started over there when we started planning where to launch the team, how to launch the team, who would be the franchise player, and those kind of things. We started checking the box and how we're gonna be a global brand being there. So we chose Orlando as the city. Orlando City, the name of the city, very international city, right? And Kaká as the main ambassador of the launching of the club, and a good player as well, right? So 2015, he played very, very well. It was amazing. We didn't go to the playoffs just for 1 point, but it's okay. This is another story. So we're still running after this dream, but whatever. So we put in the first game, as you can see here, a big picture there. We put in the first game in the Camping World, which is not this state that I'm talking to right now. It's a 65,000 for American football stadium. Soccer, it was 62,000, and we put 62,500 there because we needed, we had a terrace that we could put more people. We sold out 2 to 3 weeks before the game. So it was a huge success and impact. So 2013, November, we had the announcement here in the city, downtown of Orlando, the announcement that we would be the 21st franchise, 21st team in MLS. So from there, we played another year, 2014, in USL, but preparing everything for the, another level, which is the Major League. We played in Disney, which was a stadium for 5,000 people. And then our first game here with Kaká and everybody here against New York City, which was a new franchise as well. And Pirlo, David Villa, and those guys, big guys. And we played against them for 62,500 people. And Kaká scored the first goal ever of this franchise. And it was in the 93rd minute. And it was amazing. So it was Kaká. We tied the game, and everything that came, from there was magical, and we keep on going. And then on the 2014, going back a little bit, we did the groundbreaking for the stadium here that I'm talking right now. And then, so the project of the stadium was 19,500 people, but we were averaging the Camping World, which is a stadium, 5 blocks away from here, a big American football stadium. We were averaging 33,000 people average. So we changed the project on the flight, and now we opened the stadium with capacity to 25,500. The stadium is the first one in America and in the United States that we have the safe standing section. So now all the new teams, the new franchise that come to the game, like LA and even DC United that built a new stadium, and Minnesota United, all of them put a standing section for the supporter groups to cheer, because they don't see it anyway. So we did the same thing. We did the research. So this is part of the global understanding about the game. We research, the yellow wall and other examples in South America as well for safety standing section. And we built the first one here in the US, and we are very proud of this. We don't win a lot of trophies, but this trophy nobody can take from us anymore. So we are.
And how many people this area?
This area is almost 4,000 people. It's 3,888 people. So yes, it's a big section, but whatever. So I just to give a very quick explanation about this, because MLS is a very unique league, right? So it's a single entity. When we are accepted to buy a franchise, you pay a fee and you become a member of the company, right? You're a stockholder, right, of that company, which is MLS, Major League Soccer, LLC, right? And you have a second company, which is, that takes care of the commercial rights, but whatever. It's a single entity, and it's a little bit different than other leagues around the world. Yes, they negotiate the TV rights and other stuff, but this is a single entity. It's the same company. So everything that, the player cap or TV or whatever, it goes to a board as a regular company, and every single and the composition of the board are made by the owners of the teams. And then when they signed the contract, became a partner of this MLS LLC, we became an operator. So we have the right to operate the team, right, day-to-day basis, but we don't own the team. The team is owned by this company that owns all the team, right? And the owners of the clubs are the owners of this big company, which is MLS, right? It's kind of confusing, but it's not. It's very simple. So it's a company that owns everything. And everything that they do, they go to a board and they have a decision. So salary cap and those kind of things. So if we're gonna open the stadium for with fans here, we have fans here after the COVID, or after this normal and everything. So in Orlando City, we have 8 companies. It's a very complex structure. So we have 3 professional teams, which are Orlando Pride, the women's side, which is a very, very international team. We have players like Marta and Alex Morgan that plays there. So it's we sell jerseys, you know, just, you know, in our little world here, for 26 countries. So it's very international. And we have so they play in NWSL, which is the women's league here in US, the professional women's league in the US. And you know, with this COVID stuff, and we have a breakout here in our team, we couldn't play the tournament in Salt Lake, but we are playing this tournament that is happening right now. We're gonna have a game here in Orlando on the 9th, and then on the 17th here on the stadium. But whatever, this is Orlando Pride. And then we have OCB, which is the, you know, under 23. It's a professional. They play the USL league. So it's kind of a, you know, it's the League One of the USL league. It's kind of the third division, and it's part of the developing player for the first team, right? So, you know, the academy, and then the OCB, and then the MLS. And then we have the MLS team, which is Orlando City Soccer Club. Different club and different, you know, approach in different positioning. So what I'm saying here, and what I'm gonna be discussing here with you, is more about Orlando City in general. But of course, we have different positionings for all of them, right? So sometimes Pride position is the opposite of strategics, the opposite from Orlando City Soccer. We have a lot of course, synergies, but sometimes.
But you run as a different business.
Completely different business under the same umbrella, right? So, and we have another company, for instance, which is the stadium. So that runs the stadium operations. It's another company, part of these 8 companies under the umbrella. I don't know if you are familiar with the stadiums and arenas here in US. At least 90% of the arenas and stadiums here in the West are built are funded by taxpayers, right? Here, our stadium, it is funded 100% by privately. So it's private money, no taxpayers' money. And because of that, we run the show here. So we operate this stadium 100%.
All right.
So we are doing
great, Fred.
Well.
So let's.
We've not been doing very well on the field last year and then the year before, but we are doing very, very well. We are, I think, in the 2nd or 3rd in the standings, because we are in the 2nd in the East Conference, but I think we are in the 2nd in the overall as well, or 3rd. And so it's very promising. And we have Nani, you know, as our designated player. And hopefully we're gonna go to the playoffs, and we're gonna play some playoff games here in our stadium.
Fred,
all right.
Fred, can I ask you a question around the topic of this conversation? Because you're in a kind of unique position here, I think. You've got a young club in a growing club trying to build market share in a new league where the sport itself is number 5 in terms of the pecking order in the United States in pro sports. So how does it feel faced with the job that you have to do when you look over the other side of the Atlantic and you look at the Bundesliga, La Liga, the Premier League, and the individual clubs within all of those leagues looking to you to try? They're fighting you for that same market share. Doesn't that make your job really, really tough?
Yes, but you know, it's a very unique position as well, because we are in the biggest market in the world, right? So everybody that here is trying to come to US, right? So Bundesliga, Atlético, you know, everybody, and you know, is trying to come here, right? Because when the soccer meets the, you know, the biggest market, sports marketing and consumption market in the world, so it's a win-win situation, right? So it's very challenging, yes, because we have to fight here with the, you know, big players, big guys, you know, and then come with Messi's and Cristiano Ronaldo's and Suarez now, Atlético, now Suarez.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the signing. Awesome. Actually, being part of this, we played here the All-Star game here in our stadium last year against Atlético Madrid. We lost it 3-0, I think. And it was here, it was good, the operations or whatever. It wasn't Orlando City. If it was Orlando City, it would be different. Maybe, 3-1 us or whatever. So the thing is, yes, it's very challenging, but we are in a unique position because we are here in the market. And there are a lot of pros and cons being MLS, right? And the same, and this single entity business model, right? Because we have a lot of limitations, just like territory. So I cannot do anything commercially out of my territory, which is 100 miles radius from my stadium here. So everything that I do outside this territory, I gotta go with the league, with the whole company and all the brands and everything. But in the other hand, we run the show here in Central Florida, right? So when we have British teams and PSG came here and played Tottenham here, they put 27,000 people here playing ICC, right? And we put 25,500 here. Lots of when they are doing a very good season. In the beginning, the first year, we almost sold out every single game here. So it's kind of it's tough. We gotta fight the competition, and we gotta protect our territory. And we have to do this with the support of the league as well, and the U.S. soccer. So we love it because we love to compete with the big guys. We are not afraid of competing with big guys. And the good news is that we're gonna fight back there as well. So we have a supporter group in UK, for instance. We have the Orlando City UK. We have supporter groups of course in Brazil. We have soccer schools in Brazil because of Kaká and the ownership, which are Brazilians, right? So we fight back. So I'm happy to partner with the big guys and compete with the big guys for a share of their market as well. And we're gonna protect our market. So it's not an easy job, but we are here, right? So we know how to do it. We do this day by day. But it's tough.
So,
when you see Barcelona playing Real Madrid there in Miami, around the block here, and putting 80,000 people paying $150, average by ticket. It's kind of yes, but it's good for the soccer development in general. So, but I want to play Atlético Madrid. I want to play Real Madrid. I want to play Liverpool. I want to play those guys. We played already Flamengo, and the second biggest team in the world right now this year, right? Lost to Liverpool.
So, Fred, I would like to talk to you about another thing before we finish. But talking about Atlético de Madrid, Maria, so I see, of course, I'd like to know more. And I know you guys bought a team a while in Mexico and Canada. And so how is the vision of the club about going global? When did it started? And where do you see you guys in 5 to 10 years?
Okay, perfect. Well, first of all, thank you very much. I'm also happy to be here, and thank you for your invitation. Happy to share also our story because I really believe in it, and I feel also lucky. I always tell everybody because I've been working for the club for the last 15 years. So me personally, I had also the chance to lead the growing process of the club in the last year. And I think that Atlético is really interested in stories in terms of international global expansion. You know that, as Fred said, we are a really traditional club because we were founded in 1903. So we are a club very renowned, above all in Spain. We are the third club, always been the third club in Spain with Real Madrid and Barcelona. But of course, we experienced a really strong growing process in the last 10 years. It started from 2010, thanks to a lot of sports achievements that helped Atlético in order to be recognized as a global brand. But I think that our story is also important because we just didn't grow in terms of sports, but we grew as an organization. So we are considered like an example also in terms of management, in terms of efficiency, because in the last year we are around number 2, number 4 in the UEFA ranking, for example, and in terms of budget ranking in the Deloitte, sorry, just 1 second. You can see me. Okay, can see me, I'm sorry because of the lights. Okay, that's it. In the Deloitte ranking, we are number 13 or number 16, which means that we are a club who has been able to use our resources, to use our monies and also our money and value in order to grow and to position ourselves among the big clubs. So it started more or less around 10 years ago when we realized that we wanted to grow in terms of international brand and to be also recognized abroad more than we were in Spain. And we use all the tools that we had in the past. In the beginning, I remember that we tried to create some in our strategy to create relationship with other clubs all around the world. And we signed different alliances in China, in the Emirates, in Thailand, also Brazil, in the United States, because we considered that it was important for us in our vision, in our strategy, to be considered like a global brand. And we were able to do it, and all our sports achievements also help us in order to be considered a more attractive club, a more attractive brand. What we also did, because we think that it was challenges to do this in our league and in our competition, because as is also Fred said before, for us it's not easy to be competitive because we have to compete here against Real Madrid and against Barcelona. I mean, the Spanish league is really competitive leagues that needs to be really strong in order to compete against them. But we did, above all, because we decided that we wanted to be different. We had clear in mind which were our values, and we decided to build our strategy all around that. So in the recent past, we also traveled all around the world, and we saw that there were a big demand in terms also training, in terms of formations, in terms of youth system. So first of all, after all those partnerships we create with those clubs in order to introduce our brand in other countries, we use the academy as another strategic pillar in order to, in our global expansion brand, in order to introduce our brand in other countries, because we recognize that there was another way in order to connect ourselves with people, in order with a lot of fans that we had all around the world, a lot of people that we wanted to feel closer to other clubs, to give them the chance to live a unique experience together with Atlético, and above all, to spread the value of our brand, because we are really convinced about our identity, we are really convinced about our value, about the attributes of our brands, and we wanted to make them stronger and to let everybody feel them or live the experience to feel like the Atlético fans. So we also make like an internal evolution, not just in terms of first team, because of course, then the most important strategic pillar is the first team. We invest a lot in the first team. And as you can see in the last year, we played a lot of finals. We got a lot of trophies, the Europa League, also the Spanish League. We got 2 Champions League finals. Unfortunately, the final was not the best one for us, but we hope and we think we deserve, we could have a third chance in the future and to be able to win it. But for me also personally, the most important thing at that time was the fact that Atlético had a special identity, and we felt that everybody identified ourselves with us and supported the club for the value that we transmit and we express to people. I mean, our coach, our players, and our brand itself. So we decided to build our story around that and to take our brand into another countries. So first team was the first team, of course. Then the second was the academy. You all know that, I mean, in our market, the current market is really different, difficult to compete. You have to invest a lot of money to bring really interesting players or big stars that you can hire from abroad. So in this sports policy, the academy is really important because you need to have competitive players at home in your club that are able to stay together with a big star that you can bring from other country and to be able to compete at that level. to be the third club here in Spain, the second and the third, for me also personally, need to be the first one in another leagues. I'm always said, since I'm Italian, that if we had played in Italy, we had won the last 9 titles as well as Juventus, because it's really difficult to compete against Real Madrid and Barcelona in your domestic league. And all the other clubs that usually face them in the European competition experience that, because we also see the best Real Madrid and Barcelona of the recent past, of the last year. So it was the best moments in the history of those clubs, which made us really stronger, more competitive, and also help us to try to find the difference in order to be even better than them or different than them. So the Academy is also, I think, in interesting stories in terms of global expansion, which is the topic of this conference, because thanks to the Academy, we were able to build a great structure here in Madrid, where we work in order to create great footballers for the future, but also to add another strategic pillar in order to strengthen our connection with other countries and to introduce our brand in other countries. Right now, we have several academies, permanent academies all around the world, but also we create another unit, another structure with a lot of programs and projects that we develop with kids, but also with coaches and professionals, in order to share our experience with them. We are really open club, happy always to share the know-how that we have, and our coaches and all our people and experience our people have with people that comes from a lot of countries around the world. We are happy also to travel to other countries, and our aim is to help other countries to grow. I mean, we would like, and we had a meeting with the CEO today, and they say that he's convinced that he wants to have a flag of Atlético de Madrid all around the world in different countries, and to help them to grow in terms of football. So within this strategy, the club that you mentioned before at the beginning are another pillar in the international strategy of the club. So we grow in terms of first team. We grow also as a club in terms of organization. Right now I'm talking from Wanda Stadium, which show how Atlético grew in the last year. We also changed our home. We passed from Calderón to Wanda. So we are a really modern club, one of the clubs who can grow the most also in the future. We grow in terms of the academy, but also we grow in terms of strategies with other clubs all around the world. So Mexico was the first experience. It was really interesting experience. And then we had Canada as a second. So the idea is to create a network of clubs, hopefully, and to be able to make our brand stronger, creating these alliances with other clubs in other countries. Of course, it's challenging. It's really difficult. Not other clubs do that because at least at the end of the day, you have enough at home because to manage a football club is really complicated. So to make another experience like this in other countries is to add a lot of work, to make a big effort, because countries are different, the story is different, mentality are different. But we love challenge. We love to try to make impossible thing possible, like you said before. And we love also to connect with other people and to make this kind of experience with, of course, always our people here. And just to close, I think that the experience has been really good, because in Mexico we were able to pass from the second to third division in a short period of time, and to be there. And also, I mean, Canada, it's even better for me. I had also the possibility to be there at the beginning when we make a couple of trips to Canada in order to know the market, to know also the league, to understand what they wanted to do in the future. And we thought that it was a great opportunity, because it was not the chance to link ourselves to a new club and to introduce our brand in a new league, but it was an historical opportunity, because in Canada they were building a new league that is something that it doesn't exist in any other place. When you go to a new country, you find a league with some traditions, rules, also problems or whatever. But here we had the chance to start a new story together with the CPL, and to be considered also like a club who doesn't just own another club, but who can share his vision together with the CPL in order maybe to create a new model for the future. Because ourselves we consider like a successful model of growing of a club. So we want to share our experience in terms of management with other people and to help them to grow also in their countries.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive, really impressive. Kevin, you're going to say something?
I don't have a question there, but it'd be really interesting now to hear perhaps from Diego for a league perspective, because there are interesting issues about the way that leagues and clubs work together in different countries.
Yes, definitely. For us as a league, for example, here at least Bundesliga, we opened the America's office as recently as in 2018. So for us, the expansion to the Americas has just started recently, and our purpose may be something also that ties back to the question that was asked to Fred. We are not here trying to compete with MLS. We really don't want to become or to take over the market as a whole. We want to become the favorite European league for American audiences, or Latin American or Hispanics here in the US. So just like we would never become the favorite league in Spain, because of course La Liga is there, or in England because the Premier League is there, the established organizations just like us, the Bundesliga in Germany, it would be really hard for someone in Germany to become or to have Atlético or Real Madrid or Barcelona as their favorite team, because they are already very rooted to either Eintracht Frankfurt, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund. So for us, we bring that same mentality from Europe to the US and to the Americas as a whole, with the idea that we want to become the first or the European league of choice for these audiences, right? So we don't want to compete directly with MLS or with Liga MX in Mexico, or the Argentinian league, the Colombian league, or the Brazilian or the Brasileirao. We really want to become the league that they follow in Europe, or the one that they follow the most. Because a very interesting characteristic that we have in Latin America and in the US is that since our leagues, sometimes with a few exceptions, maybe Mexico, Argentina, and Brazil, in the rest of the countries, we don't have a really strong league historically, right? So for example, me as a Colombian, I love my team in Colombia, but our league is not as strong. And so therefore I follow a team in England. I grow up following a team in England, in Spain, another one in Germany, another one in Italy. So we want to make sure that the fans are getting closer to the teams that they follow, and at the same time getting more attention to the league, to the Bundesliga, and of course the club, because in the end you become a fan of a club and not a fan of a league. So for us, for example, that's one of the biggest challenges, right? We conducted a study that gave us some numbers as to how fans in the US recognize Bayern Munich as a brand, but they don't recognize the Bundesliga as a brand. And that's perfectly fine. So our job here is to make sure that we are serving those fans and making sure that the league is getting the most exposure that it can, but at the same time, bringing the clubs together and making sure that the clubs are the ones that are being prominent and head front and center. So assisting them with alliances that they make. I know that Wolfsburg, for example, has a partnership with Orlando City. There are other clubs that Eintracht Frankfurt who's opening an academy soon here in the US. Other clubs like Dortmund, who has helped LAFC as well to develop their stadium atmosphere. And at the same time, Bayern Munich, that has a huge presence here in the US. They have 150 fan clubs from the US only. So it's one of the biggest fan clubs, or the biggest family of fan clubs that there is from any European club. So we are basically, that's what we as a league are trying to accomplish, getting those fans closer to the teams, but at the same time, with it, making sure that the exposure of the league is getting as far as it can.
I have a question. In the end, and I think, of course, in Bayer, it's an example because they're winning and it's a big winner team. As far as the league goes, I think the whole process starts with people watching the league. So what is the strategy to have the league on TV or in the channels that people watch? Or is that specific, or is it just a normal process that you guys bid for a broadcaster to buy the rights? So what is specific to this point you guys do?
We are really investing and thinking in long term. So for example, in the US, we signed a partnership with ESPN. So starting this season, starting the last weekend when the league started, until for the next 6 years, ESPN Plus, which is their OTT, is going to be the home of the Bundesliga. So they're going to broadcast all of the Bundesliga 1 games, the first division, and then they have the right as well to broadcast all the second division games. So a total of more than 600 games that they can broadcast on ESPN Plus. So that is going to help us make sure that fans understand and they know that there is a home for the Bundesliga for the next 6 years. So anyone who watches the Bundesliga or wants to get into the Bundesliga, especially now, as you mentioned, that, FC Bayern won the treble, they're European champions. We have probably right now the best team in the world in Bayern Munich. If people want to get connected with the Bundesliga, they know that ESPN is going to be the home. So that's our strategy for the next 6 years. It also helps us that we have more than 10 American players. So we have players like Giovanni Reina at Dortmund, Tyler Adams, RB Leipzig, Joe Sargent in Werder Bremen, and a few others that play for our teams that are young Americans that are going to become the stars of the U.S. men's national team in the future. And this partnership with ESPN is very unique because it takes us all the way to 2026 when the U.S., Canada, and Mexico are going to host the World Cup. So that's going to build the roster of these players. So it's going to basically develop these American kids that are going to become the faces of that national team that's going to be playing at home in the World Cup in 2026. Of course, we have Alphonso Davies, which ultimately helps us a lot in Canada. And that's going to continue that development. In Latin America, because of the pandemic and everything that has happened recently, we've had to go into the market and make sure that we are servicing country by country, basically. In the past, we had a pan-regional deal with Fox Sports. So basically everyone in Latin America would be watching the Bundesliga on Fox Sports. But now we're going market by market and talking to the broadcasters, talking to different partners, and identifying what they need and how can we benefit from that as well. Because in the end, we don't want to be the league, basically just selling the rights to a broadcaster. What we want is to have partners that not only broadcast the games, but also are creating content around the games, and that in the end, both of us are benefiting. Because in the end, if you as a partner, as a broadcast partner, are having great ratings and and is benefiting from our content, in the end, we are going to benefit from that as well. So we see it as a partnership, not as a league selling to a broadcaster only. And for example, in Brazil, we just announced a few weeks ago that we signed a deal with the agency Sport 5 and One Football, which allows everyone, all of our games are going to be broadcasted on the One Football app for free to Brazilian fans. And that's going to, of course, have a bigger reach than it would just being only on TV with a broadcaster. A few games are also going to be broadcasted on band, on free-to-air TV. So that's also another thing that we wanted. We didn't want to put it behind a paywall or put it on cable. We wanted to have the biggest reach as much as possible, especially now that the league is getting a lot of more exposure in general. And then in Mexico, for example, coming from Fox Sports, from that pan-regional deal that we had in the past, now we have 4 broadcasters that we announced yesterday. So we have Fox Sports as well. We have TV Azteca, we have Claro Sports, and then we have Sky, which are the main right holders in Mexico. And that, of course, is going to give us a tremendous amount of reach, because now we're going to be on not only on cable television, but also going to be on free-to-air. And it's also going to allow us to reach a bigger audience as well.
And Diego, just to finalize, and I understand that part of this, you guys, the league is really investing. You're given the signal for them to broadcast, because you're seeing the long term to get the benefits. Is that correct?
Correct. We don't really, sometimes, financially, we understand that the Premier League is here in terms of TV rights. La Liga follows after that. And then we're basically maybe with Serie A in Italy in a little head-to-head. But in general, we don't necessarily, especially understanding the times that we're going through right now, at least in the Americas, we don't necessarily need to have the biggest TV money. We want the biggest reach, the biggest audience, so we can have the most engagement. And of course, that ultimately is going to drive up our value in the end. And down the line, it's going to become a more profitable business for us. But also the good thing at the same time. I couldn't
agree more.
And the good thing at the same time is that the Bundesliga is the most profitable league in Europe overall. So we have, all of our clubs are above in green line. None of our clubs are losing money, which is a great thing. And even after the pandemic, only a few lower divisions clubs were struggling, but basically nobody was in a position of having to think what's going to happen in the future, because all of the clubs were financially stable, which also of course helps.
Which is really
that
incredible.
long-term vision. Yeah.
Can I add
Great,
something?
perfect.
Can I
Go
add?
ahead.
So I was in a conference, the soccer conference there in São Paulo last year, and I used Bundesliga as a good example of a globalization, project plan, because they were broadcasting Fox sometimes, most of the times prime time. I could watch all the Bundesliga, games, including Bayern and other teams. So they sponsor Florida Cup that they play here in our stadium. They always bring at least two German clubs. They sponsor the event to bring the clubs. It's different than selling your club for someone to buy and sell, for the consumers. So it's an amazing job. And as per our surveys that we do here, Bundesliga is already there. It's a little bit far from the EPL, but it's getting there because of this. The perception of the Americans is that the Bundesliga is a big league because they are there in prime time. And now they deal with the ESPN Plus, which is growing a lot, right? So the OTT, and I read that you're gonna broadcast some on ESPN TV as well, cable, right? So it's amazing because of TV rights. It's not about the money only. So long-term vision is sometimes much more important than the money, in the cash right away. So great stuff.
Yeah,
and it's a German company, and Germans like to do everything with a process, right? So it's our vision.
and think
always.
long term. Yeah,
Exactly.
And Rebecca, I'd like to see your vision about. We're getting actually to the final stage of our conversation. I'd like to know more about what you do in your career, and what is next for you.
Yeah, no, it's been really, really interesting listening to all you guys. Diego, really interesting. I was just chatting with Heike Ulrich Monday, who's pretty high up at the DFB as well, but understanding how they did their return to play and how they got the Bundesliga and the German league and the lower leagues and women's football all back to play. So you're right, they're very good. And I used to play in Wolfsburg. That was the last club that I played at. So I know the German efficiency quite well. But it's really interesting to hear too that I didn't know that the Bundesliga is the most profitable league in the world. I thought that was really interesting. And another thing that you said, or sorry, not in the world, in Europe you said, but another thing that I think was a really key point was you said that partners are really important. So understanding the value of trying to grow. And I think the whole point of this panel is about growth, isn't it? So I also agree. I think the best way to grow is to have the right types of partnerships so that you're creating synergies and plugging in those areas where you maybe don't have that skill set, or you just need a little bit more, juice to that, to the information that you already have. So I really like that. And I think that's what Copa 90 is about as well, is we're a digital football media company, but we also create a lot of different content. And we basically took the camera, rather than pointing it at the field, we twisted it 90 degrees and started filming the fans and trying to look at the fan culture and understanding that using data as well. And the data part is also a part that I think is growing. So data-driven decisions, you'd all mentioned it actually. Maria, you said something about it, and Fred, just understanding your fan base a little bit more, I think is really important. And just all of that sort of shoulder content that surrounds the game, because I think that's what makes football so interesting. It's really not just about the 90 minutes. It's about, who's transferring where. And I only heard about Messi for like 2-3 weeks. It was like, the whole world just was stopped and listening to see what was happening. And in the end he stayed. It was like, okay, that was like a big faff for nothing. But it's so interesting because it was just a really good point about the storytelling around football. I think is the most interesting part, which is, I mean, obviously I'm biased. It's why I went from my football career to governance at FIFA, organizing Women's World Cup, and now why I'm in media, because I think that that's where the biggest growth needs to happen. I think that broadcasters, like what you were saying, they need to diversify more in the types of content. They need to use more partners that are more authentic. I think broadcasters are so far away from the game that they don't really have that authentic feel of, you know, what's really going on with the fans, what's going on with the players, how does it work in a club, how does it work in a league? And so I think that type of storytelling is going to become more and more popular. And also, if you look at just the patterns of how young people or youth is consuming content, it is still on television and linear TV, but it's also so much more on these, you know, it's in the dark WhatsApp groups, it's through Twitter, it's through the Instagram, obviously, is a big one, Snapchat, they're all sort of taking over, and even Twitch now signing a really interesting one. Fred, you mentioned your team, which is, I think it's really cool how you guys are set up, that you have your men's team and your women's team, and you kind of run them both, and you use synergies for both of them. But one of the really interesting things I thought that happened during lockdown was the partnership with the NWSL team, the Challenge Cup, the tournament, how they had, you know, their linear broadcaster, I think it was CBS, if I'm not mistaken, and then Twitch, so the online, the digital, and that was just a whole new model. And it was brought to you by, you know, women's football, which is a little bit more, can have, let's say, the flexibility to be more innovative, because there's not as much money or contracts or, dare I say, egos wrapped up in it already. So I think that, you know, in terms of the global expansion and looking of the areas where you grow, you all sort of touched on it. And Maria, you also mentioned your women's team, but I think women's football for me is just the biggest growth opportunity right now in football. So if you're not including and speaking to your female fans as well as your male fans, but also your women's teams, including your men's teams, then you're just missing a beat as well. So yeah, just I won't ramble on too much, but I found it really interesting hearing what you guys were all saying. I genuinely think you're doing great jobs.
Which is why we also at the Bundesliga, we've had a partnership with Copenhagen, which is, you know, it's one of the reasons why.
Yeah, yeah, it's good.
And Becca, where are you based today?
I'm in London now. So my journey was born in LA, New Zealand parents, went to school at Duke on the East Coast, North Carolina, went to Germany, played in Frankfurt, then Sweden, Australia, Wolfsburg in Germany, worked in Zurich at FIFA, and now I'm in London. So wherever.
Global.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And Kevin, I think finally you just to talk a little more about what you do as well, and your company.
Let's not talk too much about what I do. Just briefly, I was one of the founders of Sport Business, who I rejoined again a year ago after working in communications consultancy across sport for various sports bodies for quite a long time. But I tell you what I'd like to say is that this discussion, this feels like half time. It's coming up to the final whistle, but it feels like half time because it's been really, really interesting to hear what everybody's had to say from their personal perspectives. But as ever, there seem to be more questions than answers, and a further discussion to have about actually what the strategies are, how the Bundesliga puts boots on the ground with its tours in China and elsewhere, you know, how an individual club is building, and how Maria Teresa feels about the work that they're doing at Atlético compared to, say, City Football Group building its own stable of things. Guys, there's an awful lot. Maybe we can get together for part 2 sometime.
Oh yeah, or maybe we leave everything to be in person, hopefully in Las Vegas in next September.
Sounds good to me.
All right, guys. So I'd like really to thank you very much. It's such a experience and good people. It's such a good subject to talk about it. 1 hour is pretty much nothing, but I understand, it's everybody working from home, and people are working more than ever today. And I'd like just to tell a little bit about, our event, which we were starting now to engage again with the digital series. We're supposed to happen 2 weeks ago and with the pandemic, of course, was a big complication, especially in Las Vegas, with the whole city. It's suffering a lot because all the events in the city, I think more than 50% of the revenue is coming from events, and the whole event industry is completely shut down until nobody knows. But we are strategizing our event to be an event really to be a 360 into the industry, but also engaging the fans. You know, it's not going to be only an event that you can come, and the idea is to have a real education and networking component, but also bring a lot of content for the fans, going a little bit with the Comic Con does. And I think the whole passion, you know, the whole thing it's similar, in my opinion. I think Las Vegas is the perfect arena to do it. So I'd like to thank you very much. I would like just to see if I can show a video that we're launching for the event, so can give you the idea. Let me see if I can. Is everybody seeing my screen?
We are.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just show this video and then we can wrap this up. Thank you again very much. I wish all the best for everybody. We talk soon. Eduardo, you wanna share a few words to wrap up our discussion?
Well,
over already? I was ready for 1 more hour or something.
Unfortunately, me too. We could stay there. Okay.
Thank you, Fred. Next time we will prepare an exclusive digital series for you.
Thank you. Send some lunch as well, because it's lunchtime. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, just say thank you to everyone. So interesting your words, and thank you also for the attendees. And yes, keep in touch, and see you soon on Las Vegas on September, in the SoccerCon, September 2021.
See you there.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Thank you very much.